knows that something like 3/4 of the world's population lives within 100 miles of the coast. And they depend on fish as their main source of protein. Shellfish and coral reefs they're just being destroyed because of ocean warming and acidification. When people lose their food source, they become unrestful, right? We're already starting to see some of the first climate change refugees. I flew planes for the Navy, and I saw most of the South Pacific islands. And seeing the islands over time and reading about how endangered they were, that's what really got me into the climate movement. Admiral Locklear, the head of the Pacific Command, when he was asked by the Boston Globe in 2013, what's the biggest threat to your security environment, he said climate change was the biggest threat to his security environment. This was the head of the United States Pacific Command, 4-star admiral. So the Navy gets it. Let's hope everyone else does too. I'm lobbying the folks in Congress. I'll lobby the lobbyists too. It may sound funny, but to get past the money, this is what we have to do. I was flying high in the Navy. What I saw brought me back down to earth. Sea levels rising, and I'm realizing just how much this world is worth. I've lived here all my life on the Lummi Indian Reservation. We had a traditional village site where Bellingham is, all the way up to Cherry Point, 3,500 years ago. Back in the 1980s, we formed the House of Cheers Carvers and started putting totem poles outside the reservation in areas we're all battling to protect. We even carved a pole for the children that lost their parents in the Twin Towers. So now we have art spreading out from California to New York and Washington, D.C. People can get in real despair. They start thinking nobody cares. Nobody hears them. Well, we want them to know we do care. We can't forget them. So we do something. People tell us thank you. And they start feeling like all the fighting they've been doing is worth it. Last year on the totem pole journey, the ancestors came to me in a dream and they said, sing that song. And our little grandchild sings it now. I'm a dreamer. And when those songs come at daybreak, they're for a purpose. I'll sing what we call a verse. Whoa-ho-ya, whoa-ho-ya, whoa-ho-ho-ho-ho-ho-ho-ya, whoa-ho-ho-ho-ho-ya, whoa-ho-ho-ya. My daughter and I used to go to Carkeek Park and play on the playground. When the ground would vibrate, we'd hold hands and run as fast as we could to this overpass. It felt like a roller coaster. We could feel the wind and the power of that train moving right under us, but we felt safe on this bridge. In 2012, I learned about all of the oil and coal trains, all the proposals for these trains that would be coming through our communities. 18 to 38 more trains a day. Sure enough, my daughter and I started noticing a lot more coal trains with uncovered rail cars going through the park. I found out that these trains were losing about 500 pounds of coal dust per trip. And I thought, oh my gosh, this doesn't seem safe anymore for me to have my child near these trains. We found out that the oil and coal companies were planning on shipping all of these fossil fuels to Asia. We had to do something about this, so my daughter and I attended an action camp. 5 adults decided that we were going to do an action. So on Labor Day of 2014, working with Rising Tide Seattle, we erected an 18-foot metal tripod. I climbed to the top, and 4 others locked down to the base at the base of the tripod in the Delta rail yard in front of a mile-long Bakken crude oil train headed to the refinery. We blocked it for 8 hours before being cut out, arrested, and booked into jail for 24 hours. We became known as the Delta 5. This heart reminds me that I am a mother protecting this world so that my daughter has a future. My tribal friends say, warrior up. I say, I'm gonna mother up. I feel afraid, I don't cover it up. I face my fears when I mother up. Being a mother used to be packing lunches, cleaning skin knees, but now it's finding legal tools to stop the use of fossil fuels.
I just retired last year. 25 years before that, I worked at the Shell Tesoro oil refinery in Anacortes. That's when I started really learning about climate change. It's kind of funny learning about climate change at an oil refinery. But our union, the Steelworkers, would have these conferences and we'd hear all this stuff about global warming and the need for a just transition. The trick about just transition is, how do you get there? We're seeing what happens when decisions get made by the elites and the corporations, and workers and communities are just caught flat-footed by surprise. Whole company declares bankruptcy, and all of a sudden they have no job, no pension, and nothing in place to help them through. We have to learn from that and try to help others avoid that fate. We need a just transition, a just transition. We need a just transition to get us where we need to be. Back in the 1970s, there was a super fund for dirt, but nothing for the people who were gonna lose their work. This problem has divided us for such a long, long time. We have to work together now. Our lives are on the line. We need a just transition. I lost two dear friends of mine when Hurricane Katrina hit Gulfport. And when I saw what was left of my city, I made a conscious decision, and since then, it's been like full speed ahead. I'm living just within walking distance here of the Gulf of Mexico. I can walk down from my house and see the sludge from the BP oil spills, so, I'm pretty motivated. Coal company was building this coal plant in a majority African-American neighborhood with a high poverty rate. The Sierra Club filed a lawsuit against them building the plant, but they went into the community telling residents, this is going to bring jobs to your community. And that's just a bunch of rich white people. They care more about trees than you having a job. They actually tried this with me. I got really upset about it, and I told them, don't try that with me. Never give up, never give up. I tell everybody, never give up. If greed invades your community, pushing dirty energy, tell them don't try that with me. And never, never, never give up.
The Indian Point nuclear power plant, just north of New York City, is built on an earthquake fault. Every other month, there's an accident at Indian Point, which is operating without a license. There are routine releases of radiation every single day. Stuff like radioactive strontium that gets into your body, and your body thinks it's calcium and puts it in your bones. That's where leukemia comes from. Now, people that were pro-nuclear are suddenly worried because there's a high-pressure natural gas pipeline so close to a nuclear power plant, and over an earthquake fault. Oh, I have to tell you my Bayonne High School story. My friend Tom installed solar panels on Bayonne High School in New Jersey. When Hurricane Irene happened, because the solar panels were connected to the grid, they were not making electricity for the school when the power went out. So they called Tom up and they said, we're an evacuation center, we need power. Can you set something up so we'll have power next time the grid goes down? So he set up a battery that would power the building if the grid went down. When Hurricane Sandy happened, Bayonne High School was the only place for miles around that had electricity. So all the emergency workers were going in and charging their equipment there at Bayonne High School. Not to mention all the people coming in and charging their cell phones and stuff. So they were literally saving lives by having solar panels at Bayonne High School. They woke out Fox, the swamp fox. He never will be caught. They can muddy up the truth a while, but it never can be bought. No, it never can be bought.
Sometimes I fight, and then sometimes I pray. I've traded in my coal for a solar array. I'll give it all I've got, 'cause there's a lot to restore. And there's always something left worth fighting for.